Welcome to Being at Home with George. I'm excited to be here. And as we start each of these episodes, we'd like to talk about this idea of saying yes to life, embracing whatever comes up, and generating the hope. And start off that way. And being on the road, you're bound to run into some interesting situations. So I'd like to quote Albert Einstein in terms of dealing with problems or things that come up. The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we first created them. So I'd like to expand that actually to include solutions as well as innovations, being proactive and anticipating situations and then being prepared for them to actually be proactive and to think about ways of dealing with them. So for me, it helps me when I think about it in terms of being of service, in terms of doing something for the highest good or for the greatest good. And so that requires a certain expansion of our viewpoint. It means being able to see things in a more panoramic view and a wider lens. And so committing to seeing things at a different level of thinking or in new and fresh ways, which is included in that, it's important that we have a certain mindset that has something to do with being interested in what we're doing, bringing curiosity, understanding there's a joy in discovery, and also in energizing enthusiasm that can come from exploration, from this idea of learning and achieving. And so for me, I really feel like that's really important. And there's a quote by T.S. Eliot that talks about the exploration. What does that look like? What does that entail? How do you do it? We shall not cease from exploration. And the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. So for me, that is powerful. That's saying that we can see things in new and fresh ways, but we have to explore it. We have to be willing to let go and to see things, let things speak to us in our own language. And like we like to say here, is that when we can create space between stimulus and response, in that space, we have the freedom and power to choose. And so we can slow things down. So having traveled, as a matter of fact, getting on a flight, there's a 6.5 hour flight from Boston to LAX. And I'm seated in the men's section of JetBlue, and I turn on the TV or the monitor, and there's a cracked speaker. And so I can't use the speaker, even though I have Bose noise canceling headphones. It's just not doable. It's just you can't understand what's being said and whatnot. And I noticed when I first turned on the monitor, when I put it on the movie section, that it was in closed captions. So there were subtitles. So on some level, that should have given me a clue, but I didn't really see it because I was seeing things the way I normally see it. Oh, the thing works and people use it. Maybe they were hard of hearing. So all I need to do is shut it off and listen, with the headphones. And so that didn't work. And so I was thinking about it a little bit. And then I realized, well, okay, so I can put on the closed captions and watch it, and I can do other things if that doesn't work. And so for an hour or so, I was doing other things. I just said, okay, so now I can use my computer. I can do some other work. Now, on top of that, which is very interesting, because I've gotten accustomed to having access to Wi-Fi and email. Wi-Fi allows me to access my text messages and my email. Well, there was no Wi-Fi on that flight as well. So it was this idea of, okay, embracing that and how can I work with it? And so just do other things and realize, okay, so now I have this opportunity to not be engaged with other people while I'm here. But it's also this idea of I had to change my level of thinking, but I also had to see it as an opportunity to actually do things differently. And there's a lot of joy in that. And there's a lot of satisfaction that comes from doing that. So what's my point? My point is this is what we talk about every week. This idea of embracing, okay, there's no Wi-Fi, embrace that, generate the hope. Well, instead of just saying I don't have Wi-Fi and it's going to be an awful trip, I focus on what I can do, bring interest, curiosity, and try to see things differently. And by seeing things differently, I can let go of not having Wi-Fi, not being able to connect with people. And so that's what this is all about, saying yes to it, generating a hope, bringing this exploration into it, and then keeping it real and keeping it live, keeping it in joy.